What time is it? It's time for another Every Other Wednesday.
Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm Richard Hadden. Welcome to Every Other Wednesday. It's so good to see everyone back. And after we had a one episode hiatus 2 weeks ago, it was just a very unusual confluence of events, and none of us were able to be there. We thought we would just give you guys the time off. So you'll see there's only me on the EOW team today. We do have a guest host, and ironically, he's going to be talking with us about things that appear to have to do with technology. Although you're going to learn that it really is more about people than technology. And it's a good thing because he's having trouble with his technology. Gerry Gitchel is going to be joining us. He is feverishly trying to reestablish a connection. We were in the green room talking a few minutes ago, and suddenly he just dropped. And then the communication I had from him was that the internet in his facility was not on, so he was trying to come in through mobile. Anyway, you don't need to worry about that. I want to get us started by, as everybody's coming in, by asking a question. We always start with a question. First of all, I'll introduce myself. For those of you whom I don't know, I'm Richard Hadden. I'm an author and speaker. I wrote Contented Cows Still Give Better Milk, and I talk about the workplace and the workforce and retention and recruiting and all of that kind of thing. And now I see Gerry. But we do have a question as Gerry comes in. There's Gerry. As we come in, the first question is, or the only question that we have for each of you today is this: what is your first memory of using the internet, this thing that we call the World Wide Web? And I know this is going to age some of you, date some of you a little bit, but I still would love to see what you have to say. And I'm also going to remind you that please change in the chat box the selection to everyone if yours is defaulting to the other thing, which is panelist. Hosted panelists, change it to everyone. All right, so Dan, you didn't steal my answer. You have duplicated my answer, and that is Prodigy. Yes, I remember very distinctly having something that looked like a Kindle that was supposed to be a computer, and it was connected to the phone plug in my house. And my wife, who has been in technology all of her career, we were absolutely mesmerized by doing this. And we dialed in Prodigy. Who remembers who Prodigy was owned by? Anybody have a guess? I'll tell you if we don't see it in just a minute. But it was we thought it was just super exciting, but it was just slow and ugly and not great. So all right, so Dan doesn't remember. I remember, and it was owned by Sears. Now, that should tell you something there. That was in the early days, so I'm going to say that was probably in the early 90s that this happened. But others of you, please chime in. What was your first recollection of your first memory of using the internet? Today is May 28th, 2025, and this is Every Other Wednesday. And so, again, it's so good to see everybody coming in. I apologize for what happened 2 weeks ago that we were not able to be here. I'm really so glad that you've come back to join us. Dan says he remembers moving from Prodigy to just an old school dial-up connection. I had no idea what to do. I think we were all in that boat. Apparently, no one else remembers, have no recollection, no memory of your first time. Melissa says the dial-up at school, beep boop, beep boop. Yeah. Dial-up. When I joined a technology company in 1995, that tracks about with the right time. Then Dan figures he was on Netscape and he loved that browser. Yes, it's interesting. We actually wrote about the founder of Netscape in our first book, Contented Cows Give Better Milk, that came out in 1998. And of course, that was new technology then. But as you're entering those answers, and we appreciate that, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest host for today. As you noticed, I'm the only EOW team member here today. And what, Carol, what are you? Something cheeky. That's like asking my memory of being born. Do you not know? You don't remember that, Carol? They say that some people do. I don't. Anyway, the other three guys are otherwise engaged today, and they are very sorry and very jealous that I'm able to be here with you today. Uh, Mike and Sanjay, Mike Kerr and Sanjay Nath, are both on speaking engagements today. And apparently they're in pretty much the same place. They're very close to each other, which is kind of a coincidence because they live very, very far away from each other in Canada. Canada is a big country, as you know. Jeff Tobe is, this week is the wedding week of one of his daughters, and they're having a wedding in Lake Tahoe this week, and not in the lake, but in the outskirts of that. So I am here, and I am just back from a 2-week trip to Scotland to visit our daughter. So we will definitely, more than one of us will be back. Oh, Carol wants me to show my kilt. I do have a picture somewhere. All right, here. If anybody, this is a very old picture of my wife and me, and this is me in my kilt. I do have better pictures of it, but this one was just right here at hand. Okay. Anyway, time to get back. Freedom. Time to get back. Connie says she remembers I began using Netscape on a distance learning degree in HR. I had to log on and interact with the students, but I had to mail in my assignments, and my lectures were mailed to me on VHS. Those were the days. On to our guest, and thank you for your answers, everyone, on this. It's kind of a walk down memory lane. Our guest host today is Gerry Gitchel, and if you know that name, it's because Gerry is a very frequent member of our audience. So that's just another kind of a reminder for any of our audience members, regulars or irregulars, that we would love to have you as a guest host as well. I'm going to let Gerry pretty much introduce himself. Gerry has a fascinating, and I do mean fascinating, personal story. But I'm going to introduce Gerry from my perspective. I have known Gerry for about 30 years, and we have worked together in a variety of ways. He has worked with my company, my organization, along the lines not only of technology but also marketing, and just kind of, I sometimes call him my creative partner. And Gerry helps me think through a lot of things like this. But I'm going to let Gerry, other than that, tell you his story, and you will understand why we're here today to talk about the culture of cybersecurity. The culture of cybersecurity. So, recognizing that Gerry has a little bit of a challenge on his internet end, we're going to let him speak. And if this starts to go south, then Gerry, as much as we like looking at you, we're going to ask maybe if you go off camera so that we can continue to hear you. But let's just go ahead and start and say, welcome, Gerry Gitchel.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I guess the first thing I need to know is, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Oh.
Now, your lips are not moving at the same time that and I don't know how you do that, because you are actually able to speak before you move your lips. So that's really a talent. I don't know if you can teach us that.
Digital trans vocalist. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you, just not at the same time.
Well, it really did work in rehearsal, Richard. I don't know what has transpired since then, but there we go.
Okay, we're good.
Thanks for being here. It's a whole different thing being on this end of it. Somebody may note that because of my long exposure to Richard or whatever, Richard keeps showing up wherever I go. Like if you look over in the corner here, you'll notice that there's Richard's book in the background. This is a very specific training that Richard and I did. Richard wanted to know, what do I do if I want to do one of those green screen photos? And
by the way, this was back when we thought Corona was just a beer. So this was, not only was it pre-COVID, it was several years pre-COVID, wasn't it?
It was quite, well, I have been working from home for all of those years. And I went through not one, but two different podcast eras. The very first one, when I actually had an iPod. Does anybody remember the iPod? So we had that, yeah. And so what we did was we were trying to figure out, how do you take a photograph? Now, the people at Stanford, for instance, they shot a photo of their entire campus from about an elevation of about 300 feet. And then they put it behind somebody, and it moved even. But it was like, how did that person, are they standing, at the top
In
of
the air?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in midair. And so what we found out, and the key to making this work, what you see behind me, is to put the camera and shoot the shot in the same point of reference. Knowing that we were going to sit down when we use this photo, we said, well, then the camera needs to be at eye level when you're sitting down.
Yeah, that was an
And so that's
epiphany
why
for
it
both
looks
of
like
us
I'm actually sitting in
that
the
we
room.
discovered.
Yeah. So that's why it looks like I'm sitting in an office somewhere. This was a test for Richard, and I thought I would resurrect it today.
And so what you also see behind Gerry is the skyline of Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I live, which I failed to mention. Gerry used to live in Jacksonville. He doesn't any longer. Gerry, do you want to disclose where you live now, or do you want to keep that a secret?
Yeah, I live in NPR, Newport Richey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on the other coast of Florida. I like it. Interestingly enough, I did not get away from the cows. We have pasture about a half a mile from here. I live kind of in a rural area. What would they call that?
A sub-suburb.
A suburb, but a super suburb kind of place from Tampa. So it's in the Tampa realm, but that's what we've got going here. You can almost smell the cows.
Yeah, well, I can, but that's kind of a natural thing for me. So, Gerry, tell us your story and why you even begin to have any interest in what some people think is technology, but I know that you have a different perspective on that.
Well, thank you for asking. It started with a birthday invitation. My whole entire career in IT started with an invitation to go to a birthday party from Bill Gates.
The Bill Gates?
The Bill Gates, the one that that is looking after mosquitoes now and things like that.
The former husband of the philanthropist Melinda Gates.
There you go. She actually taught him how to do that. Yeah. She was the most high bandwidth person at the company. And I think that's how they got together. That's what he originally attracted him to her. So I was president of the PC users group of Jacksonville. And in that, so I was what we called an influencer before we even knew what that was.
Yeah.
And I was in Atlanta, and I got an invitation from Bill Gates in person to attend the first birthday of Microsoft Windows.
Yeah.
Windows 1.0. Yes, there really was. Before there was a 3.1, there was actually a 1.0. And Bill invited all of us, not so much because, he just needed to throw a party, but simply because he wanted us to tell everybody else that please buy all that Microsoft software, because that was their culture. Their culture was not innovation. It was not saving the world. Well, it is now, but it wasn't then.
What was their culture then? Because that's, as you know, that's what we're all about here.
Exactly. And so culture was what it was about. And so I looked him in the eye, and he looked through me. He kind of was about 3 or 4 feet behind me, focused.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. And I knew right then and there that I was going to have a really great career in IT, because if Microsoft was a car company, they would ship off the line cars with 3 flat tires.
Yeah.
And then somebody would have to put air in those tires, even though they were only flat on the bottom. And so that became my career. I said, this is going to be great. I'm going to go around and what should we call it? I'll say, I make technology work. And I had to use that for years. And people would hire me just because I said that. That was it.
Well, and there's something else that you have always said that I like, and that is you say, I read the manual, so.
You don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole point of that was they actually shipped with manuals.
Yeah, I remember. We all
Now
remember.
we've seen that evolution go beyond that. But that was my first concept about what technology was about and what the technology culture was about.
But then you had a complete epiphany based on what you're going to tell us next.
So there I was, fat, dumb, and happy, telling everybody how to buy Microsoft software, among other things. And I got an email.
So you got an email. We get emails every day.
Yeah. And so there I was. I knew I had a bunch of email. And even back then, I had learned the famous delete, delete, delete.
And what year was this, Gerry?
This was in 95.
1995. Okay.
Yeah. So there I was. I had downloaded all my email to my hard drive, and I was going to then, get rid of so I didn't have to carry it all with me on a business trip. And I'm delete, 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 delete. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of that inbox, there was a message that I didn't know who it was from, didn't recognize the email address.
This is what we generally call suspected spam.
Yeah, now we would, and even then we weren't sure what it was. But the thing that really got me to stop, my finger actually stopped in midair before I hit the delete key, was the subject line.
Well, they say that the key to getting your email read is a good subject line. So was this a good subject line?
Well, it was only 5 words, which makes sense, right? Straight to the point. Yeah. And all it was, let's see, looking for my lost brother.
Looking for my lost brother.
Now, what most people don't know about me is I left home when I was very young. I was 6 months old. And I grew up in foster care, as did my other 2 brothers. So here in the middle of my inbox, I've got this looking for my lost brother. And we didn't know about cybersecurity. We didn't know really a lot about spam back then. But I still couldn't open it. I stood up. I had to get away. I left the room. I couldn't even look at the screen. It took me 20 minutes to calm down, sit down, open the email, and it said, if you're the Gerry Gitchel that grew up in San Diego in the 70s, my name is Lee Gitchel, and I'm looking for my lost brother. Now, I didn't know.
Is anybody else getting goosebumps about right now?
Because this not only was it the finding the brother, not only was the fact that I was lost. Most foster kids go through doors in their life, they slam them shut, they don't go back.
Right.
That's typical.
That's almost a culture that you develop as a foster child.
It is a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And so I finally calmed down and said, yes, I am the Gerry Gitchel. What a wild and crazy thing. We followed that up with emails, obviously, back and forth, photographs, back and forth. And finally, I went out to California for Thanksgiving. This is the picture. I think you can see this. Is that working? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's my big brother, Lee. I got him a Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt, and he got me uh, he got me a watch, and on the back of the watch it read, "For the time we've lost."
Ooh, wow.
And I thought, all I got him was that stupid T-shirt. But what he told me later on was that he just gotten the computer like 2 weeks earlier.
Wow.
He knew nothing about it. Matter of fact, they had to install a modem because they didn't know what that was. And a
Yeah.
friend of his had to help him figure out how to find somebody online. He found me on CompuServe. We did the connection back and forth, and I went there and I talked with him this weekend.
Wow. So
Now,
that was 30 years ago. That's a new relationship in your life that was facilitated really because of technology, and it was a nascent technology at the time, right?
we were lucky we even got it done. But here's what it
Of course, yeah.
did.
I just wait a minute. I just have one other question. In that picture, like what was that black stuff on the top of your head?
Oh, that was back in the day when I had hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now when I take pictures of people, I ask them, I said, before I take the picture, I say, "How's my hair?"
Yeah.
And of course, they always laugh, and then I take the picture. So I'm using this as
So,
a prop.
okay, I interrupted you. You were going to tell us something, and then I want you to move us toward how all of that led you to, and some stories that you have around cybersecurity and what our audience can learn about building that culture of cybersecurity. Because as you've told me for the last several years, it's not about the technology tools that you use. It's about the mindset that you employ, right?
It's exactly about the mindset. And now I had two mindsets. I had the Bill Gates, let's sell some software. Let's do it for commercial purposes with absolutely no idea what's next unless it's more software.
Yeah.
Or here's someone who had no idea how to use any of the technology. My big brother was total novice.
Yeah.
And yet he accomplished his goal because he was on a mission. And that was the moment in time when it was kind of like a tale of two mindsets. There was the technology side of this, and there was the people side of it. And to this day, whenever I'm working in technology, I'm always focused on the people. And that's why we chose, security culture today. That's why I'm here today, because I'm finding that it's culture, it's people.
Yeah.
Now, I decided I wouldn't even use technology in my new blog. My new blog is called No More Risky Business.
I love it. No more risky business.
Yeah, and I'll be put our
Yeah.
chat here on the side. I'll be putting the link in there because we're going to be talking about some resources, and the resources I've documented on the new blog, so you can go and take a look at it later on.
Okay.
And anything you guys add to this. But now I had these two ideas about culture. And as I was helping Richard be safe online, people started attacking it. We built everything. We built them a fabulous website, social marketing, all that kind of stuff. And people were attacking it. And I thought, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. How can I make technology work if people are attacking it all the time? So I switched a couple of years ago to cybersecurity. I wanted to know everything about cybersecurity. Turns out I knew quite a bit because I'd helped Richard stay safe. Now, what we find in the situation now is end users really are the first responders. So,
Tell us what you mean by that. End users have to be the first responders.
I mean, who's 90% of the attacks that happen in the digital world happened because somebody sent you a phishing, whether it be email. Now they're expanding that beyond emails, but almost 70% is email. So what we have to do, I mean, whose inbox is it? It's your inbox.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily that the IT department. It's not solely the responsibility of the technicians in the IT department to discover and fix the security risks. You're saying it's the end user's responsibility, and that's kind of that's a mindset, that's a culture that either
That's the change.
exists or doesn't exist in an organization.
That's the change. What you normally get, and when you go and look at the blog, you'll see it's a 10-year-old kid. Press any key. Remember that? Press any key. He's got a hammer in his hand and he's ready to hit the keyboard because he's so frustrated, like I'm sure all of you are, that all this spam is hitting there and they're trying to take over your computer. We're going to talk about what you need to do to create a cyber security culture.
Yeah.
What's missing? Because we need to, it's time for end users to take responsibility for security.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
It's interesting. Just like what Carol just said, she said, 30 years ago, you were lucky because today, if somebody got that email like the one you sent, most people would be highly suspicious. And as Carol points out, we have to be. Back then, fortunately for you and for Lee, you didn't have to be that suspicious. But yeah, tell us a little bit about how you came to that discovery. And I think there's a story which I'm happy for you to tell, where I almost stepped in it but didn't.
Are we talking about Las Vegas?
Yeah, Las Vegas.
Oh, so
Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but we'll make an exception.
Okay,
Yeah.
we can do that. So I don't actually manage Richard's email.
No.
But when Richard had a problem with his email in Las Vegas, he called me.
I knew who to call.
And I said, so Richard, what's going on? I said, so when did this happen, Richard? He goes, 3 days ago. And I'm like, I'm used to doing it now.
You said two words, and the first one was "oh." I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave that other one out. So the first thing is awareness. Fortunately for you, Richard, you had somebody to call. And so my very first thought for everybody on the call today is that who is your local resource? Do you have a Gerry? And you need somebody close by. We've tried to do this. I have a client in Savannah. It's not close enough. We need somebody where you can pick up a printer, if that's what you're working on, and take it somewhere. And the same thing is true with if you get hacked, chances are it's going to require a physical intervention. So that's the first thing I would say that people need to think about. Now, that's not just culture. What we're trying to do with this culture idea is change of mindset. In other words, you could do like the folks at 23andMe. A couple years ago, 23andMe had a breach.
The genetics company.
The genetics company, yes. And by the way, they're being sold off now at bargain basement prices. They were the first company to blame their end users for the problem, for the breach. Yeah. Never heard that, never seen that ever before. And in a way, it's true. In other words, they reused passwords. That could be a problem. But
no, but people say, well, nobody is ever going to figure out my password. It is so me, I'm the only one who knows it. And it's such a pain having to remember a million different passwords and all of that. That's what people say, right, Gerry?
Absolutely. And they've told that They told it to me, to my face. And I go, yeah, I bet you I can guess it. I'm
But even
really
if they
good.
can't guess it, that's not even really the point, is it?
No, because in the case, I actually had a client who was a customer of 23andMe.
Mm-hmm.
And after this breach, a year and a half after this breach, I found out that when this client got hacked, it was because he had reused the password from 23andMe on his email.
Yeah.
And because of that, we almost lost his life savings.
Yeah, so they don't have to be able to guess it. They can hack some, they don't even have to be able to hack you. All they have to do is hack somebody that you have been in contact with, and they've got that. And so that's why, because I'm thinking again about our audience, and some people, we have some solopreneurs on the call. We have people who are part of small companies. We have people who are part of larger companies. We have people who are part of public sector and nonprofit and so forth. And I know some people would say, "Oh, well, that's IT's job. That's IT's job, right?" But
That is what, and that's the problem because
yeah,
well, here's what's happening now. In support, for instance, we're now getting bots. If you've had to call for support,
sure.
you didn't get a human. You had to go through the bot and you had to pray to the bot, the
Hmm.
bot gods, I guess,
Yeah.
and say, please, please, may I have a human? Well, that takes too long. So it's time for the end users to start taking responsibility for their own thing. One
So
of the worst,
what are some things that end users should be looking for, should be on the, because there's things that I know that I thought were perfectly innocent, and we found out they're not. What are some, I think everybody knows, kind of the basic obvious ones, but what are some other things that end users need to be aware of so that they can take responsibility? If we're talking about building a culture where every individual user takes responsibility for the cybersecurity of the enterprise, whether that enterprise is large or small, what are some things that those end users should be attuned to?
they need to be alert to what we call the factor.
Hmm.
HUN.
Hmm.
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 So you get an email and you never got an email from this person before. Hmm.
Yeah.
And they want you to do something that you've never done before. Hmm.
Hmm.
And that's enough.
Okay.
That should make you alert right there. This doesn't need to be, you don't need to be a geek. You don't need to have a pocket protector, tape on your glasses. You don't need all of that. All you need to do is be a little bit more suspicious than you have been.
And yet, I can hear people now saying, but now if I'm suspicious of everybody, especially if I have a small business and I'm looking for opportunities and so forth, how do I strike that balance so that I'm not overly suspicious of everyone?
Well, when I encounter the factor, the very first thing I do is I try to connect with whoever it is trying to connect with me on a separate
On
channel.
another channel, I see. Okay. So what's
That
an
is,
example of that?
and that's immediate. You don't need to get permission. You don't need to, you know, look behind the email to get, you don't need to be technical at all. Just simply, do you have contact information for the people at the other end?
Right. So
Now,
that could either be
Richard,
a
we had that
phone
happen the
number.
other
It
day.
could be a phone number. You can look them up on LinkedIn. I know that that's something that you did folks, I had an inquiry through my website. Someone had filled out the form. They were interested in hiring me to speak. And I looked at it, and I wouldn't have done this 2 or 3 years ago. I would have emailed the person back and said, "Here's my fee. Where do you want me to show up?" But
Yeah.
instead, I said, "Hmm." And
That
we,
was it.
yes, exactly what I did. And Gerry looked this fellow up on LinkedIn. So we didn't reply to the email. We didn't
No.
click anything. You went to LinkedIn, and there we learned this guy was not wanting to hire me.
I got enough information in that case that I said, well, has this person tried this on anybody else?
Yeah.
And then I picked up the phone and I called an executive assistant for someone else and said, yeah, for another speaker. And they said, well, yeah, and he ripped us off.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So a separate contact, in other words, don't click any links. If you suspect that it's a bogus email, don't click any links.
Don't click
Try
any
to
links.
Connect with them and say, is this legit? Are you trying to get a hold of me, and why?
But you're saying don't reply to the email. Don't do that by replying to the email.
No.
Okay.
No matter what. And that's pretty easy. But see, that's part of culture. That's part of culture.
Mm-hmm.
When I went looking for culture, security culture, the Center for Internet Security invited me to do a presentation like this. And I was shocked because they normally only talk with big CEOs, with big companies. And apparently, this is a big deal with people. I just asked the question. I said, well, what if they don't have a business culture? How are we going to do a security culture if they don't have a business culture? How do we work into that? And that's one of the links I'm going to include in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that we need to get everybody to say what Seth Godin is very good at. Seth says that a security culture should be people like us do things like this. So what I just told you about how if you suspect your email, you go through another channel to connect with them and find out if it's legit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people who are security minded do.
Okay.
And that's the first part of culture. Seth did a great job of putting that together. And you'll see I've included a link to one of his videos and a book that he uses. The idea is, if you're going to build a security culture, you need to start with 3 stories. There's the story of me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the story of me in this case that I would tell you if we had more time, obviously we're running tight now. I was approached by North Korea. Only I didn't know it was North Korea, and they wanted to get some information, pick my brain, and they were going to pay me and all this kind of stuff. Well, that didn't sound right. I'm in Newport Richey. Nobody even knows where that is. So that's the first story. You need to develop a story. If you've got a small business, you need to get everybody together and say, I'm concerned as the owner, I'm concerned about security. I think I got a phishing email and I just thought that could destroy the entire company or at least shut us down for way too long.
Yeah. So people really do need to be, and I hate to be this way, but I become this way. People do need to be more suspicious, not necessarily in a malicious way, but just make sure that everything that you don't have that factor, and don't make these decisions unilaterally. Involve others, get some other eyes on that. And again, in large companies, they'll have someone that you can go to, that you can report this to, and they take care of it. But in so many of our businesses, that's not the case. And we really do have to be so much more vigilant.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the second story. The second story you need is the story of we. We have the story of me. Then we have the story of we. People like us get together. So if we're doing training, what we call STAT, security awareness training, and somebody's not getting it, as in they're not engaged.
Yeah.
Oh, they get it. They just don't want to get it. But if somebody is continually having problems, they need a peer. You need to be one-on-one and saying, what are you're having, you seem to be having problems with this. What can we do to help? And all of a sudden, it's a culture of multiple people. It's everybody in the organization. That's critical. That's probably the most important.
So there's the story of me, the story of we, and what's the third story?
Oh, here we go. The story of now.
Okay.
The story of now is what's going on in your organization. What is it that we're having problems with? There was a time when I jokingly said that things change at 8:15 every morning. Well, now they change after lunch. We are now in a situation where what was true this morning is not true this afternoon. And we need to be aware that change happens. Now, in COVID, after COVID, everybody wanted to go back to normal. When are we going back to normal? Well, a great writer says Mastering Change, that's his book. And Brad, and he'll be in the link, Brad said that we have three things we need to focus on in change. We start with order. Remember before, March 20th, 2020?
Mm-hmm.
So we start with order. We then go to disorder. And you all remember that. I won't say any more about that at all. But the third thing we do is we don't go back to order. We go to reorder.
So order, disorder, reorder.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is what I'm finding, because I'm in technology. I'm at a different pace than you are. See, my daily commute is about 5 years. So in the morning I get up, I get the coffee, and I'm in a studio apartment, so I'm very tight here. And I get a cup of coffee, and I come and I sit down here at this desk, and I go 5 years into the future trying to find out what's coming, what's next, so that I can help you make technology work. That was the original premise of it, or to make you safer nowadays. But the idea is
so that your technology will continue to work. Yeah.
And it will change. So when Bill Gates started with just sell them more software, continually selling them new software, it doesn't work. It didn't work then. It doesn't work now.
Yeah.
What works is what my big brother did. Look for the vision that helps you find the right tools so that you can get things done that makes your world better.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and your and Lee's world changed a whole lot on that day. We have less than 2 minutes left. I want to go to one of Carol's questions. It's a very legitimate question, and that is, how do you find someone who's competent and trustworthy to fix your computer problems? And Carol, as she has told us, lives in California. There should be plenty of people, but how do you find that person?
This is great.
In 30 seconds or less.
All right, in 30 seconds or less, start with your peers. You've got a whole bunch of people here.
People in your community, in your church, and in your social groups, Carol.
All those people, and then try them out almost like you do on Fiverr. You start them on something that isn't critical, that isn't your life savings, and then you have them try it. And that's my three rules, my three laws of leverage are: extend your reach, increase your velocity, and build deeper relationships.
Wow. And that really sums it all up, because again, the whole theme of this is that building that culture where people are taking responsibility at the front line so that they can continue to build relationships. And as you've taught me, technology is not about technology, it is about people. So
Absolutely.
can you drop that resource in the chat, Gerry? I know you said
Working on it now.
resource for everyone, so Gerry's going to do that. While Gerry's doing that, let me just remind everyone that our next get together will be on Wednesday. Of course, we decided we'd do it on Wednesday this time, June the 11th, Wednesday, June the 11th, and I hope to have all three of my colleagues back with us, certainly one or two, if not all three, back with us. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Gerry, hang on, don't cut loose just yet. Gerry's going to plug that resource in. There we go. nmrb.substack.com.
No more risky business.
Oh, I see. No more risky business.substack.com. Everyone go there, check that out, see what you can learn from that. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Again, we couldn't do this without you. We wouldn't do this without you. Thank you, Gerry. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side of the camera from now on. But we are really thrilled that you shared your expertise and your ideas with us here. And so, look, folks, thanks again. We'll see you when, Gerry? You know what my closing line is.
Every other Wednesday.
Wednesday. Bye now.